Plot summary of Sátántangó, winner of the 2025 Nobel Prize in Literature. Plot summary: Sátántangó by László, Krasznahorkai.
Please like and subscribe to our channel.
The village lies in decay, with crumbling houses, abandoned fields, and the damp stench of neglect saturating the air. The residents move through mud-laden streets, their bodies weary from the endless toil and despair that characterize their isolated lives. In the early morning, Futaki rises and observes the village, sensing a subtle tension that hangs over the streets. A rumor spreads: Jeremias, a man of authority who once commanded respect and fear, is returning. This news produces mixed reactions. Hope, fear, and skepticism intertwine in the villagers' consciousness. The inhabitants gather cautiously. Schmidt and his wife, along with others, discuss the impending arrival, wondering whether their fortunes may shift, or whether they are merely succumbing to another false promise. Jeremias's past influence lingers like a shadow. His return seems to reinstate a hierarchy the village had nearly forgotten. Meanwhile, Estik, a young girl, quietly observes the unfolding tension. She senses the deep rot within the community, the way fear and dependency govern the villagers' lives. Alone in her corner of the house, she contemplates the hopelessness of her existence and the inevitability of cruelty, her awareness of despair far exceeding that of the adults around her. Jeremias arrives with Petrina, a devoted companion. The villagers congregate at the inn, their nervous energy palpable. His presence immediately reasserts control. People respond with obedience, not because they understand his intentions, but because they have long been conditioned to rely on his leadership. Futaki recognizes that the villagers' entire sense of order hinges upon this single individual, whose silent authority exerts a profound psychological influence. Jeremias's gestures and sparse words act as both promise and command. The villagers, despite lingering doubts, begin to anticipate a transformation, a potential salvation. The tension between faith in Jeremias and recognition of their own helplessness forms the emotional backbone of the narrative. The first significant rupture in this delicate equilibrium occurs with Estik's death. Isolated, psychologically fragile, and burdened by the pervasive despair, she takes her own life in the abandoned barn. Futaki discovers her body and reports the tragedy to Jeremias. Remarkably, Jeremias receives the news with detachment. He perceives the act as inevitable, an element of the human condition he has long observed. Estik's death serves multiple narrative purposes. It highlights the community's fragility, the consequences of isolation, and the inevitability of suffering. It also underscores Jeremias's complex role. He is simultaneously a potential savior, manipulator, and observer of human frailty. With the villagers psychologically aligned under his authority, Jeremias directs them toward an abandoned monastery in the west. The journey is arduous. Mud, rain, and the oppressive landscape reflect the inner turmoil of the travelers. Despite fatigue and uncertainty, the villagers move obediently, motivated by a mixture of hope, fear, and dependency on Jeremias. Upon arrival, Jeremias assigns roles, dividing the villagers into tasks that appear practical: clearing the grounds, tending to small fields, but the true purpose is the reinforcement of his control. The monastery, dilapidated and haunting, mirrors the social decay the villagers have internalized. Every order from Jeremias reasserts the hierarchical structure, ensuring that dependency and obedience are maintained. Futaki, observing these developments, begins to sense the precariousness of the villagers' situation. While Jeremias presents an image of leadership and guidance, Futaki realizes that the villagers' autonomy has been entirely subsumed. The journey and settlement thus serve both as a literal relocation and a symbolic deepening of control and submission. After a brief period, Jeremias departs for the city with Petrina to finalize bureaucratic matters, leaving the villagers in the monastery. His absence is temporary, yet it accelerates tension and chaos among those left behind. Without his immediate oversight, latent anxieties and human weaknesses surface. Food shortages, wet conditions, and the oppressive atmosphere magnify their vulnerability. The villagers begin engaging in repetitive, often meaningless, activities. Some perform ritualistic gestures, while others mark walls with obscure records. These behaviors attempt to assert a sense of order or meaning, Yet they only reinforce dependency and helplessness. Futaki meticulously observes and records the unfolding chaos, noting the villagers' increasing reliance on structures that only exist because of Eremias's orchestrated authority. Meanwhile, in the city, Eremias completes his manipulations. He secures documentation and arrangements that formalize the villagers' situation in a way that benefits his plans. Detached yet calculating, he is both observer and conductor of events, ensuring that the villagers remain psychologically tethered to him. Eremias's return to the monastery marks the final phase of the narrative. His presence reasserts control with renewed intensity. He assigns tasks, organizes the community, and reestablishes hierarchical norms. The villagers, conditioned by prior dependency and fear, follow without resistance, their lives subsumed into the rhythm he dictates. The narrative emphasizes a repeating cycle, likened to a tango. Steps forward and back, labor and waiting, hope and despair. These patterns dominate the villagers' existence. Futaki, now fully aware of the cyclicality, records the events, observing the inescapable repetition. The tango symbolizes both the communal rhythm imposed by Eremias and the existential condition of the villagers, trapped between autonomy and subjugation, action and stasis. The novel concludes with the villagers continuing this pattern. Rain falls, mud spreads across the grounds, and Eremias's authority remains unchallenged. Futaki's observations and recordings serve as testament to the cycle. It will continue, endlessly repeating, as long as human desire, dependence, and despair coexist. The end. László Krasznahorkai, born 1954 in Debrecen, Hungary, is one of Hungary's most acclaimed contemporary writers. Known for his dense, intricate prose and bleak, apocalyptic vision of human society. His work often explores themes of societal collapse, human isolation, and existential despair. Krasznahorkai's writing is characterized by extremely long sentences, minimal punctuation, and a relentless, almost hypnotic rhythm, immersing the reader in the inner lives of his characters and the decay of their environments. His best-known works include Sátántangó 1985, depicting the collapse of a rural Hungarian village under the manipulative influence of Eremias. The Melancholy of Resistance 1989, examining social chaos and collective fear. War and War 1999, focused on obsession, desire, and existential struggle. Krasznahorkai has received numerous literary awards and international recognition. His collaboration with filmmaker Bela Tar brought Sátántangó to a wider audience through a 7-hour cinematic adaptation, capturing the novel's dense, cyclical narrative. His works are noted for their philosophical depth, exploring human vulnerability, power, and the repetitive rhythms of life.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to our channel.